My name is Thomas. I'm co-founder of Exponent, and today I want to talk about how we can bring more complex vaults to on-chain participants without forgetting about protection for them and how we can make risks from those vaults very clear to depositors so they understand what they're buying into when they deposit into those vaults. For context, even though we're not actually building directly on EVM, we've had tons of learnings from builders in this room. And I think the vaults we're bringing to DeFi in the coming months are very interesting and quite novel. So just for context, Exponent is built Solana's leading interest rate swap exchange. It's used for portfolio construction where participants can trade rates to hedge rate volatility, speculate on them, and essentially outperform market rates. We've been working over the past months on what we call strategy vaults, which are essentially vaults manager can set up to build and construct strategies on top of Exponent's markets and interest rate swap instruments, but also combine them with DeFi protocols like lending protocols such as Camino, as well as perp exchanges like Phoenix. For us, it's the way we thought about building vaults wasn't really as the core offering of what Exponent does. It was more how can we evolve the core mechanisms we have for interest rate swaps on chain and really offer the strategies to users who are maybe less sophisticated but still want to access those yield setups and the strategies possible when you use and trade interest rate instruments. If you look back at DeFi and how portfolio construction in DeFi evolved, the first DeFi products we had were very focused on trying to bring everyone under the same bucket, where you had those one-size-fits-all models like Uniswap V2 style pools, pool-based lending protocols, which were not very capital efficient, but were enough to bootstrap some on-chain activity and get liquidity from day one. Over time, we've seen those primitives evolving and requiring more active management. So today, if you want to provide liquidity on chain, you need to actively manage that position, whether it's on Uniswap V3 or V4, in a CLMM pool where you need to actively manage the range. It's the same for credit, where we saw isolated markets and lenders had to become more sophisticated, understand the different collateral types to really understand what they're underwriting when they lend those assets into those pools. And so vaults have been the next logical evolution for a lot of those new, more complex DeFi primitives, where essentially they abstract a lot of the complexities on behalf of users and enable professional managers to sell their expertise as well and generate additional returns from those users. For us, it's really a way to bring interest rate swaps to a broader audience and enable users to interact with those vaults to really customize how they want to earn yield on chain. As I've said earlier, we've had a lot of learnings from existing players in the vault space. When we started thinking about the architecture behind strategy vaults, the goal for us was really to make sure this would be something that would be robust and could enable depositors to understand what they're depositing into. Because if you look in TradFi, you have some structured products where you just have a fact sheet and then you subscribe to it and you don't really know what's going on. You have the mandate, obviously, and the description, but it's hard for you to understand what's going on. And we didn't want to replicate that in DeFi with those strategy vaults where you don't see anything and you're almost depositing into a black box. So one of the points that was important for us was transparency, where you see everything on chain, so all the vaults are fully on chain, whether it's the strategies, whether it's the assets, and you can really check what's going on when you deposit into a vault. The second point was depositor protections, where even if you're not managing the position itself, you still have some guardrails to protect you, for instance, of a sudden mandate change. And so if you're not happy with that, like the vault manager suddenly decides to add assets you're not happy with, you can opt out, and if the protocol, the vault mandate changes, your assets will be withdrawn. And lastly, to have all of that on-chain, we had to integrate on-chain policies, which are essentially programmatic rules which enforce some actions and assets for asset managers. So they're not able to suddenly change something. And if they want to update the vault structure, they have to go through a time lock. And again, they can add those protections for depositors so they can feel more confident about what the vault is supposed to do and not suddenly start doing something completely different. So yeah, overall, just to give a quick high-level overview of Exponent strategy vaults, those vaults are really built with cross-protocol interactions in mind. So as opposed to some vault products we've seen in the space, which are very vertical in the sense that you just have one kind of activity ongoing, like credit, for instance, like lending vaults. Exponent vaults are built for using Exponent interest rate swap instruments and using that across DeFi, like for instance, locking rates on Exponent and then borrowing against those positions on Camino and doing some looping. But it's also for, you can do market making on an order book like Phoenix or Exponent's rate order book. And so it's really broad, but we wanted to really make that clear to users what's going on and what the vault is actually doing to not be lost or not be able to double check that the manager is not doing something wrong. As I've said, we have specific, the manager can whitelist specific protocols and actions, again, to make it clear to users what's going on, but also to protect the funds that are deposited into this vault. The non-custodial part was quite important for us. And so essentially the manager doesn't hold any custody of the assets. The assets are deposited into a vault, which is very similar to multi-sig account, so multi-signature account. And then you have policies attached to this vault, and the manager can only allocate liquidity within those policy constraints. We have built-in depositor protection, as I've said. And lastly, something that was also quite important for us was to make it very easy for managers to share those vaults to their LPs and almost have a dashboard built in when they create a vault on Exponent. And so we really see, and I think a lot of people here as well, we really see those vaults as the next generation of asset management, but on-chain. And so we wanted to have really the perfect UI to essentially evolve on-chain asset management and have really clear details about what the vault has been doing, how it's been performing, did the vault lose money in the past, what kind of assets the vault was exposed to, what kind of changes was done to the vault, and everything is live. So if suddenly the vault manager wants to add a new asset, this will be reflected on the UI, and depositor can decide if they want to stay in or withdraw from it. Lastly, this is more for managers, but even though we focused a lot on depositors and making sure they can have some protection when depositing into those vaults, it was also important for us to make those vaults very easy to spin up for managers. And essentially in less than 7 days, in less than a week, they can create a vault and start collecting capital from depositors. We have a UI where you can easily spin up a vault, but and you can also do that through the SDK. And then to make it easy to create those strategies, we've built templates for all the major on-chain primitives you have in DeFi, like lending on Camino, providing liquidity on an AMM, or even doing some long short positions on a prop exchange. So that was a quick overview of Exponent.